Mm-hmm. Howdy, folks. Oh, my goodness. What a day. Oh, let's see. Everyone go ahead and be visible, whatever that is. Anyhow, as people show up, go ahead and walk. See what's going on here. Working America. Nope. Politics. Hi, Richard. How's it going? Just got in the door. We're an hour late, it looks like, which is bad, but oh well. Better late than never, they say. Oh, it's been a busy week. Yeah, we're just trying to adapt. Wow. Yeah. So, we went out with Dave on Wednesday. Yep, I have been working. So has Eva, but mine gets dirtier than hers. Adapt to the situation out at the mine where the vein has been mined more than we thought it was. But anyhow, Wednesday we went out to see a spot that Dave had thought might be interesting, and it was pretty, and there was some somewhat interesting stuff. We took some samples, and the road had some serious ruts. And my guess is that when my wheels went in the rut, I drug the spare tire on something. I didn't realize there was an issue until we were out at Montana B. And the next day, I was talking to my brother on the cell phone, and I looked under the back of the truck and I saw my spare tire rack hanging there without a spare tire on it. And I'm like, what the heck? So I dove in and I looked at it. It hadn't been dragging hardly at all. So it led me to believe the spare tire had come off recently. So I got on the quad and went back, and it was maybe a half mile back on the dirt road is all. Thank goodness it didn't come off on the highway where, I mean, those are big truck tires. They could really do some damage to somebody. But there's a bolt. It's the old Chevy style under the back of the truck spare tire rack. And one end is held by a bolt. The other one has a threaded rod, which has a nut that tightens up and everything. And the bolt end apparently got tweaked enough that it cracked the bolt. And then back on the dirt road coming to Montana B, I don't know if it's the vibration or, again, it was kind of a ruddy section, but whatever. It came off. It was laying in the middle of the road. No big deal. And repaired the spare tire, assuming I can straighten out the rack itself, which I think I can. I think it's like a half-inch bolt, 10 inches long, something like that. Not a big issue. Really, really thankful that it didn't come off when we're going at speed down the road and somebody got hurt. That would have been very unfortunate. And anyhow, so one of the things we were just doing was crushing up the samples from that trip, along with samples from the Montana B. Now, for those of you who didn't see the video I posted earlier, as we've been going down the decline in Montana B, There's some old tracks and some cross ties, and there's pack rat been there. And these pack rat nests, just been there. And so when I dug down to the level of this next cross tie where I was working, I noticed that it seemed to be quite a ways between the rock and the cross tie to begin with. When I cut the rails off and pulled off the cross tie and started digging out the midden, oh my goodness, it was like 3 to 4 feet thick. So what I was anticipating was going to be mineable ore was in fact not. It's just cedar and feces and stuff like that. And so that changes the whole calculation. The vein itself is pinching off a bit, and so the actual width, way back here, like this, only lasts for about a foot, and then it just shunk, and then it's this wide. So I took a pretty good sample of that, because if it's rich enough, then it'll make sense. If it's not, we gotta, adjust the plan. Now, on the other hand, on the side of the mountain below the declines are some dumps. And previous sampling has indicated that the lower dump upgrades actually quite well when you screen it to 1/2 inch minus. The next dump up does not, but the grade isn't horrible. I mean, it's close to break-even. The nice thing is the dumps are a lot easier to mine, especially the lower dump. Some of it spilled all the way down to the road that we have the quad access to. So literally, you can pull up the quad, shovel stuff in a bucket, and haul it down the hill. And that would be very easy to do. So what we did this weekend was, once we realized, okay, this mining thing we're either going to have to move a god awful amount of waste, or we need to think things over. So my general rule is, if you got an important decision to make and you don't have to make it quick, don't. Think about it. Mull it over a little bit. So I looked at some other little options up there, and I thought, well, what I'll do is I'll get some big bulk samples from those dumps. Prior sampling was like bucket size samples. These samples were more in the neighborhood of 500 pounds. So it was real quick. So quick that we were home last night. Where we were at today was out at the ranch processing all that. So what I did was I took both of those big bulk dump samples and screened them to 1/2 inch minus and 1/2 inch plus. And then went over to the mill where we needed to crush more ore to finish up this batch. I had to stop last week because the rain had got everything so damn. I mean, I couldn't get it to feed. I couldn't get it to screen. It was just a nightmare. One time on a full tank of gas in the Stutenroth mill, I did an entire 1,500 pound batch without having to refuel. Last week, I got 250 pounds before I needed to refuel. That gives you an idea just how slow it was going. And so we thought, screw it, let it dry out. Let's go get some more ore, which is what we did. And we should have enough ore on the ground, pretty dry now. And along with the buckets that were in the truck. Quick calculation here, folks. 20. Yeah, I should be pretty close to another batch. So this will give us some time. What I did was when I processed that stuff to put in the tank, as I was running it through the Stutenroth and using our continuous sampler there, when I got to the different materials, I would pull out the sample bucket and put in a new one and let it run all the way clean as best you can. I mean, with a Stutenroth, there is going to be some cross-contamination. Whenever you got known cross-contamination, hey, Jeff, I'm really late. I just got here at 7. So don't worry, Jeff. I'm late and I'm the host, so I'm really screwed. And whenever you're going to get cross-contamination, your best bet is to, if you have any idea, always run your low-grade stuff through first. Because if you get some high-grade contaminating low-grade, it'll very easily take you into the wrong decision direction. But a little bit of low-grade contaminating some high-grade isn't likely to change your decision to any amount. So you run the low-grade first and work your way up. So that's what I did. And I got everything done. And then the samples crushed from that trip on Wednesday that Dave took us. And so that tomorrow they can all be sent off to the lab. And I also know where I stand, which is we got pretty darn close to another full tank of ore. I think it's close enough that we don't need to make another run this week. And we can wait to get the data back, and we can spend more time at the mill. There's just been a whole stack of suggestions here, things that we could try that we haven't had a chance. So this will give us a chance to get caught up on some of the experiments and this and that and the other. And if that lower dump, the one at the road level, if that behaves like the dump above it did, which I think it's just spillover from, then yeah, the next couple of trips can go pretty quick and we can get some decent grade, because we were screening it to 1/2 inch minus and getting some really good grades. So we shall find out. By the way, Dave, are you here? Don't know if you're here today or not. If you are, I want to thank you for the trip. That was very nice. Eva really enjoyed it. She always likes getting out in the country there. Dave was a really nice guy. He's got some potentially interesting prospects, other places that we might be able to do some stuff with too. We won't know what what to think of this place he showed us until we get the samples back. But so we're really kind of in limbo right now. I know the claim owner I work for wants to stake another claim yonder up there, so that's a day. And all in all, we should be able to stay pretty busy and then go back like next week and load up fast. Depending upon exactly what the assays show and everything. Well, I also, as I was screening it, I kept track of what the ratios were. The bulk sample from that lower dump was running about 45% 1/2 inch minus. So it wouldn't take too long to screen 60 buckets of that. basically we could head out, one afternoon, get set up, get started, and then um, be home the next evening without too much trouble. So we shall see what we shall see. Right now, really want to keep the mill running as much as possible, and the mining situation. Hey, Alex, how's it going? Oh, someone is calling me now. I wonder who this might be. Probably my brother. Oh, Gene West. Hold on a second. Yeah, Gene. I'm doing my live stream right now. I'm doing my internet live stream right now. Okay. Okay. Yeah, we can chat tomorrow. Okay. Bye-bye. Uh, but anyhow, um, so that's what's going on. Did we talk about the other claim jumper last week, or was that came in this week? Do you recall?
Yeah, you mentioned it.
I mentioned it. Okay. Yeah. That person was very professional and courteous and stuff, and so no problem there. Yeah, Zaxio, we got two different people on two different claims that overstaked us. Part of the problem, BLM is so far behind in their records that the person from Billings who overstaked us near Montana B, um, he had no idea. I mean, he knew, hell, he used our discovery stake, but when he checked that claim number, BLM didn't have a current active claim on it. Of course, it didn't have a closed claim either because they're just way behind. When we sent a letter to this gentleman, who, and I must say, he behaved perfectly in a situation like that. We sent him a letter, um, just a little bit strongly worded because you want to make sure that you're not being deferential or whatever. And took a little while to hear back from him, several days before he wrote a letter. He went to BLM because he's in Billings. He went to BLM, researched it because I told him the actual claim name and stuff. Found out that the BLM's MLRS is not up to date, but that we did have an active claim in good standing. The BLM actually said they might refund him his filing fees. Wow, that's a shock. But anyhow, he apologized, and yeah, anything. So he he apologized. He asked if he can take his time at his convenience to come and pull up his stakes, which we thought was perfectly reasonable under the circumstances. And considering, and say, he behaved politely, appropriately. He did his research, made sure he knew exactly what the situation was, and then dealt with it in a professional and courteous manner. Perfect. I wish they all would. The other guy, Zioxio, is someone who sells claims for a living. He was not nearly as polite, but he's made a little errors, and I mean, right on the paperwork, you can tell that the claim is invalid because there are certain things on the paperwork that simply don't comply with the law in the slightest. Okay, I mean it's clearly, out of Yeah, his claim is invalid. Plus, we predate him anyway. So,
And so we filed a copy of our dispute.
so we did something where we basically went down to the county recorder's office and filed, linked to his claim name, our dispute letter. Hello, Indiana.
Which was my idea.
You know, and this way, if anyone's doing their due diligence to see if this guy actually filed the proper claim and everything, they should get the dispute letter come up on their search too.
This was my idea.
And they'll go, perhaps I ought to look more carefully. Yeah, we got involved in some stuff, lost track of time, and I will take a quick wash up and change my shirt when Eva does her tinfoil hat report. Oh, so yeah, it's been a bit of a busy week, but overall, I think it was a good week. Hey, Dave. There's the Dave I was talking about. Yeah, Ed, I've made more than my share of mistakes too. What about the bottom of the hole? If you mean the bottom of the decline, is that one? It's one of them bugs. Look at that. One of them stupid bugs. Excuse me a moment.
There's another one on top of the door.
On top of the door, yeah.
I already threw 3 in the toilet.
Wow. Anyhow, the idea was that we were getting to the bottom of the hole with a proper ladder track and stuff like that. And in so doing, the idea was to just slice off the bottom of their decline and get some more. Some of the chip samples were pretty good on the way down. Yeah, they don't seem to care a whole heck of a lot. Zeoxio, I mean, these people who are just filing claims and putting them up for sale, if you actually got a decent claim, it would just be a sheer stroke of luck. And I mean, like 20 or 50 to 1 luck. But in order to get to the bottom of the decline, we got to go quite a bit more. Hey, Adam. Let's see. Hey, Dave, we had a great time. Just to let you know, got the samples crushed today. That's what this is all about, among other things. And hey, David. And so then also found out probably when I got in those ruts up on the area you were showing us, I think I drug my spare tire, because when I got to Montana B the next day, when I was just standing around talking to my brother, I happened to look underneath the back of the truck, and the spare tire rack was hanging there without a spare tire because one of the bolts had broken off. Luckily, it had fallen off real close by, so it didn't fall off on the highway or something. And it's a simple fix. But wow, it was lucky that it didn't come off on the highway. That could have been a disaster. That's a pretty big tire. But that's one more thing to fix this week. Oh, I'm supposed to help Lauren tomorrow morning too. Wow. So much to do, so little time.
And we have my rooms tomorrow.
Yeah. exactly.
And we do have a few errands to run.
Yeah, exactly. But we got the tank going. Yeah, exactly, Dave. And I say there's that the spare tire rack itself is twisted a bit, and I'm going to have to take a sledgehammer to it and straighten it out a
Whoa.
smidge. But
Holy cannoli.
I don't think it's anything too serious.
The president of the UAE is going to go to Russia on Tuesday.
No, Xioxio, not planning on going hunting, but somebody was out there shooting near Montana Bee on Sunday morning. That was quite a number of shots, but they were widely spaced. I mean, like 4 total shots over 5 minutes or more, 10 minutes. That's just a weird pattern because usually a herd will be gone by then. First 3 shots were actually fairly close together in terms of 10, 20 seconds. That area I don't think has pronghorns. Nobody can hunt with firearms. Okay, they might have been sighting in or something. I don't know. It's possible. That is the sort of pattern. It's kind of a long way out to go sighting in, but you can sight in your rifle while you're also doing a little scouting.
The pronghorns are further down on the plains where the range cattle are.
Exactly. I don't know. I think you could get plenty remote without going near as far out as we are. It could be the neighbors feeding again. Now, that would be your neighbors, Lars. That's how you guys handle it down there. Everyone's, getting each other, lighting them up. So, weather was good. The days were warm, but not blistering hot, and it was frost in the morning. Yeah, I say it's possible, Xioxio. Yeah, just zing one back in the general. Just make sure you don't hit anybody. Oh, the paperwork is ridiculous. But say it was a bit frustrating because we were just getting in the spot where the grade should have been good. It looked like the vein was widening out, and we're actually moving some good um, tonnage of ore. And then it's like, well, no, not nearly so much tonnage. Could be Xioxio. There was one guy, I think he was probably a farmer. He was wearing blaze orange. I don't know, up on top of the hill with a head frame and a generator running. I don't know how much we'd look like critters, but I do have some chartreuse I could wear. Yeah. Oh, we're gonna be doing a lot of experiments. We tried just running untreated zinc directly in the EcoGold-X leach solution. And that was, let's see, I'm trying to think of a bust.
Yeah, it had the hydrazine and the hydrochloric acid.
Yeah. And I say it did not work too well. The bead is silver colored and what size?
0.048.
0.048. Yeah, like a tenth of what we expected based on the apparent drop in gold concentration in the solution. It might have been precipitating gold as colloidal gold. No, it was just a couple drops to make sure the oxidation reduction potential wasn't going to encourage the hydrochloric acid to dissolve any gold. We'll try sulfuric. We'll basically do a similar test, but with sulfuric. Where'd the gold go? Don't know, Shaggy. And I say it might have been precipitated into colloidal form. It might have been redissolved in the hydrochloric acid if there was any oxidation going on. There's a couple possibilities. We'll try a similar test. But this time digest it in sulfuric and see what happens. Not real optimistic, but we got the zinc. We got the solution. What the heck? It's pretty easy to take an empty cartridge and put a little zinc in it and throw it into circuit. Eva's running into some better grades on the resins. I presume that has to do with better grades in the solutions, but she hasn't done the correlations yet. She's trying to get kind of caught up on the assaying. I think that's hypergolic, not hyperbolic, Lars. Is that auto-corrupt, or you just hit the wrong key there? Oh, I'm sure he knows. He definitely knows what hypergolic means. And I'm sure he knows what a hyperbola is also. But I say the zinc didn't seem to do the job. It's boric acid. No, we were digesting the zinc after it had been in contact with the solution with hydrochloric acid to try and dissolve the zinc away and leave any gold remaining. We'll try it with sulfuric next time. Apparently, that's the standard methodology in Central America, is concentrated sulfuric. We don't have concentrated. We've got battery acid, but we'll give it a shot. What the hell? Yeah, I hear that some of the stuff that the electronics people use is like really nasty stuff. Yeah, I mean, really nasty stuff. But that's why I don't do that stuff. Wouldn't be surprised, Zaxio. Well, Central America, you know it's low tech. Be pretty sure of that. Yeah, I'm going to set up an electrolytic cell like Richard suggested. Say we'll have a little time. We have enough rock now that we can forego a trip, to the mine, and while we wait for assays to come back, and that'll get us a lot of stuff. I think it's silane, Dave, not silage. Silage is food for cows. But again, it might be auto-corrupt again. Yeah. See, beat you. But yeah. But that's kind of what we're looking to do, is get caught up on experiments and everything. And then we're also kind of trying to dry out some of the rain we got on everything. We got all of our tanks basically full, and still some in the preg pond. I think tomorrow do you need to send things into BLM to get tested for your claim? It used to be basically they just took your paperwork and filed it and didn't care too much. I think with this new MLRS system, I know they asked us for aliquot maps showing where the claims were for some of our newer claims we put in there. So I think the idea is to actually plot the claims with a fair amount of precision so that if there's an encroachment or whatever, it should automatically, set off an alarm, so to speak, or whatever. Not sure. But that's yeah. I say that right now the system is woefully behind, and they're working on it. If it was a private company, they would have got a bunch of extra people to handle the switchover. But that's not government. Government, they hire lots of people to do stuff nobody needs doing, but something useful. Oh, no, 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 no. We can't do that. It's just like telling the truth. It's just not a government thing. I don't know if it did or not, but they're phasing that out, Dave. They're going to the MLRS system, which supposedly is easier to use than the LR2000. I never used the LR2000 to actually look up maps of where the claims are. But that's what they're trying to do, something better than the LR2000. And right now it's in that chaotic transition period where everything's messed up and chaos reigns. Hopefully it'll be okay in a year or two when they get things straightened out, etc. But we shall see what we shall see. I'm not sure how in depth the tinfoil hat report's going to get, but it's pretty chaotic everywhere right now. Oh, ATF has 410-day processing times for your tax stamps and automatic weapons and things permits. Yeah, exactly. It's called regulation through delay. I mean, they just, well, it's not our fault you can't get the permit. We got this little old lady that comes in on Wednesdays every other week, and she just
for an hour and a half.
For an hour and a half, and she handles it as fast as she can. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. Yeah, that's how they do it. Yeah, they just get in your way whenever they want to by the most bureaucratic methods imaginable. But
and yes, it was a Nobel Prize in economics, apparently.
Okay. So anyhow, we should have more videos. I was thinking I should have had the video camera with me. No, I was crushing at the mill. I was crushing and grinding ore. Of course it is, Alex. Most of this stuff is intentional. If you thought it was, there's an old saying: never
attribute malice to what could be incompetence. Well, the opposite is true as well.
Never attribute to malice what can be easily explained through simple incompetence. There comes a point where it can't be explained simply through incompetence. There's a certain level of dysfunction that incompetence becomes a low probability explanation, in my opinion. So let's say we shall see what we shall see. Peter Principle. Well, the Peter Principle works. And for those of you who don't know, the Peter Principle is you will get promoted until you can no longer do the job right, and then they'll stop you. They don't stop you before you get to the level where you're incompetent. They keep promoting you automatically until you get to a job that you can't do. Then they can't promote you, so you wind up staying in a job that you're incompetent at. And in bureaucracies, that is, in fact, an issue. However, again, there's a certain level of incompetence that appears to be difficult to explain through anything but malevolence. And I think in a number of cases, we've gotten to that point now. So we shall see. But then, yeah, many cases. That'd be great, Alex. You handle Montana, so you can probably handle the cold up in Alaska. Yeah, and what's funny too is just the lack of judgment people have right now. I mean, I don't know if you guys heard about PayPal.
We'll be getting to that.
And they said something stupid, and they're just getting hammered. And it's like, why did you say it? Yeah, well, we didn't really. It was just a thought. Well, sometimes you want to keep your thoughts to yourself. Cold. Makes sense to me. And not just the cold, but the wide open spaces. You don't have city people. If you're, uh, in a university, say in Denver, that's doesn't prove anything. Can you handle out in the middle of nowhere? The misinformation thing, Zioxio.
We'll get to it.
Ooh. Alex says some PayPal executives just got convicted in criminal court of harassment and threats. Sweet.
Good.
Long time coming. But yeah, it's an interesting situation out there. And I didn't have time to get caught up on the news. It was a pretty dynamic news day working when we left. Let me just do a quick look here at something. Just for jollies. Nope, not there. Let's see something else here. Hate to bother you folks, but let's see. This things could be. Oh, look, there's that guy view from the penthouse, 1010. Yep. Let's see. Let's see. David said, mining is mining is mining till you can't go no more. That's basically it. All mines have a finite life. And that's just the way it is. Let's see. Who fact checks the fact checkers? Yeah. Qui custode ipsos custodes. Who guards the guardians? Let's see. Yeah, nothing hugely thing. Nukes aren't flying. So, okay, that's good. Okay. Sorry for that little divergence there. Let's see. I don't think they're winning, John. I think we've reached maximum woke. Yeah, economics makes minds, and when it's uneconomic, it's uneconomic. Unless you can figure out a way to make it work. And sometimes you have intangibles. For example, right now we're developing procedures, techniques, etc., like that can be applied to other mines. And um, so you need tools in the toolbox. And we're kind of stocking the toolbox, if nothing else. Um, but it would be nice to at least get the tools for free. Around here, Shaggy, there's a lot of holes in the ground. Just a crap load of them. Yeah, Jeff. And if this one doesn't work out, maybe next summer we'll try working something you've got. I don't know. Dave had something interesting he brought up that I'll need to check out also. Maybe we can work a joint venture or something on that. Um, we'll just have to see. But it's nice to have tools in the toolbox. So I say we're developing that. You have info for my bud in the Hassel area. Okay. If you want me to forward it to him, you can always email it to me or something like that. Yeah, he's got a couple of claims over there. That's your mountain, huh? It's pretty country over there. A lot of patented claims. Limited access during the winter, of course. But what the heck? Oh, you've been bouncing around 30 years now. I have never been to the Steeple Rock Mining District in New Mexico. Is there any danger that miner Jim could hire you? It would be a possibility, but there's no plans or anything like that. Jim himself is basically working for another company now that he sold and or leased or whatever. He did something with his claims, and he's working with them. But I get along fine with Jim. It would just depend on the circumstances. Right now, the person that I'm working for wants me to keep working. If he says, okay, I've run out of money, we need to take a hiatus or whatever. Oh, I know a couple people that could use some help right now. Jim and Lauren could both use a good hand at the moment. I know Lauren is working his little tail off. And so I'm not terribly worried if Montana B doesn't work. I should have plenty of things to keep me from getting bored during the winter that are not necessarily mining oriented, although they very well might be. So not worried. And we can hunker down and basically live on my Social Security if needed too. We can just basically cut our expenses and hang around and not do much. And we can survive just on the Social Security because we don't owe money. And so that means we can stay pretty cheap. But we'll see.
If you'd like to get cleaned up and grab a quick bite to eat, I can do the tinfoil hat report.
That would be good. Yes, I would definitely like to get a bite to eat.
It's not going to be a very long tinfoil hat report tonight because I was busy today.
Alex says a friend found a hydrothermal deposit near Butte that produces amethyst crystals, but also suspect it might have gold. Lots of iron staining. In a few weeks, we're going to go out and sample it.
Ooh,
Okay.
amethyst. Cool.
She will take over here while I get washed up a little bit.
Howdy, everybody. Wow. It was a busy day today.
Yeah.
Just saying, it was a busy day today. Hello, David. Hi, Geoxio. Hi, Shaggy. Hi, Kodak. Hi, everybody. Hi, Indiana. Hi, Jeff. Hola, hola.
Get stuff done.
Yeah, he needs to eat something because we were like busy all day. And yeah, that was dirt on his face, Gold Susfitter. He was crushing ore all day today and filling that tank since if you missed it earlier, the last time we went out, it like rained massively all over the place. So when he tried to fill the tank, the ore was too wet to grind. It would not work properly. So this time we looked at the weather schedule and realized we were going to have several sunny days. So we risked it, left it uncovered, and went out in the field to get more ore. And when we came back today, it was dry enough to work with at least, which was good. I have 10 zillion things to get caught up on in the lab and a few experiments. So I should have a lab report coming up this week. Meanwhile, let's take a look at what's in the news. Now, in deference to PayPal, who is saying that their misinformation thing is actually misinformation and was totally a mistake and an error, we're going to be even more careful than the goddess usually is on this issue. But we're going to start with PayPal. For those who missed the news, PayPal did very, very ridiculously stupid things. We're talking play stupid games, win really stupid prizes. Currently, their stock is down about 7%, and their cancellation department is being totally and completely overwhelmed. Why, you may ask? Well,
Why?
the other day, while we were out in the field, a news report came across my news field. It said that PayPal had announced a new misinformation policy. Lo and behold, they were planning to fine users up to $2,500, 2500 per occurrence if they were broadcasting misinformation anywhere online. Now, this was interesting because when you actually read and dug through this very well thought out and well crafted statement, they didn't have to prove what they called misinformation was indeed misinformation. They didn't have to tell you how you got reported for this misinformation. There was no appeals process if they decided to steal $2,500 from you for spreading misinformation. There was no recourse whatsoever. Naturally, quite a few people got highly, highly annoyed with this entire kerfluffle, this picayune peccadillo. Annoyed many, many, many people. So many, many, many people started going to PayPal to cancel. And they started posting their cancellation notices on Reddit. Because, of course, Reddit is the ostensible and self-proclaimed front page of the internet. So the portion of Reddit that is still semi-sane, which is a very, very small portion of it, started posting their cancellation notices. Now, when this whole thing first started, people were going, canceling their account, and getting an email back from PayPal within a matter of minutes, one of their auto-generated emails that said, "Oh, you've canceled your PayPal account. If this was done in error, please contact us here." Within a few hours, people started getting an exit survey attached to their cancellation. This is, "We're sorry to see you go. Could you please give us your reason?" And as one of the options, They were really silly and they put a comment box. That is when a lot of people discovered that the comment box actually censored the number 1984 because a lot of people were referencing that number quite coincidentally. And apparently, PayPal's system did not like that number for some bizarre reason. And then things got even better. By the next morning, PayPal was automatically kicking up their chat bot to chat with you and try to convince you not to close your account. And they were telling you that it could take several days to a week to get your money transferred to your bank account if you closed it. And by the way, we can forgive your fees for a few months and we really don't want to lose you, et cetera, et cetera. And lo and behold, the magic number 1984 was also censored automatically by the AI chatbot. That was more interesting and probative data point. At this point, PayPal came out and made an announcement that A, they had no idea where this information thing came from, and B, they certainly were not going to fine people for putting misinformation anywhere online, and C, this very well thought out, very well worded, and very, very interesting little clause that had shown up in their new policies was there in error. Fascinating, really. So the goddess had a question here. Follow some logic. Let us say that some rogue social justice employee working in the bowels of PayPal's policy department decided to write up this beautifully, beautifully worded piece of bullcrap and insert it in PayPal's policies stealthily, like without even letting anybody know about it, figuring that everybody just clicks the box and never rereads the terms of service when they accept the new terms of service. So, hey, a great way for PayPal to make $2,500 a pop for not having to prove anything and all that. Well, one would think that if PayPal didn't think this policy was a good idea, that PayPal would immediately and very, very publicly fire this rogue individual and make it known far and wide that they had done so and profusely apologize that anybody would dare to compromise their payment processor by making their payment processor espouse an agenda. Utter and complete disavowal would be the rule of the day here. That is not what happened. What happened is they said that this was put in their policies in error. Oops. Sorry. Um, One has to wonder, was the error the actual policy? And if so, how did it ever get to a point where it was so very cleanly and well worded? Number two, was the actual error that the policy went public at an inopportune time? Because they never said this policy was a bad idea and we would never do anything like that. They said, oh, this was and it gets even better. As of this morning, people are now being told that it can take more than a week for you to get your money from PayPal. People are now being told that they have to decouple all of the credit cards and payment systems that they have attached to their PayPal, but of course, any charges they have made up to this point will still be assessed on those credit systems. People are also being told, and yours truly has seen these screenshots and verifications on this issue, that when you that some people are being asked to verify their bank accounts that have been listed on their PayPal for years by sending PayPal copies of bank statements along with copies of their photo ID and or their passport. Both sides of the photo ID, by the way. And few people are being told that it will take PayPal up to 2 weeks to determine whether their account is in good standing so that they can close their account. And there are more and more interesting cases show up where people also asked PayPal to remove their data and delete it. And PayPal is now saying that that could take up to 30 days and it is subject to federal, state, and local regulations as to what data they can delete. But they'll get back to you. Very interesting. Oh, and for anyone who doesn't know, PayPal also owns Venmo. So if you have an innate objection to this particular type of error, that is just something to consider. Now, the goddess will say that she is very, very glad that the last time she tried to link our bank account to the PayPal account to make life easier, PayPal never got around to doing it for some bizarre and unaccountable reason. So at the moment, it's not linked. The goddess is very pleased about that because while the PayPal will stay open, the goddess distrusts PayPal even more than she used to. I have reached entirely new levels of distrust with these yo-yos. Okay? I mean, that's just the way it is. And yes, Lars, they did indeed disseminate false information. Yeah, document comparators have existed for a while, Zeoxio, but it's interesting how the narrative changed over the last several days since this came out. Because the first day, the people who got in early, the people who got in early with their cancellations were getting an instant email from PayPal, and some of them have already gotten their notifications from PayPal that the money that was in their PayPal account has made it to their bank over a holiday weekend, no less. Yet now, here we are 3 days later, and they're asking people to jump through 17,000 hoops to get access to their own money. This is interesting. Many things are interesting. Oh, yeah. But, yeah, Kodak, I would personally love to charge PayPal for their misinformation. So, I would love to charge them for their dissemination of misinformation. The goddess believes they owe me $2,500 payable in silver, please. I don't like fiat. But that is what's going on with our friends over at PayPal, which are getting really, really, really interesting, That's just it's just one of the more interesting things that has happened this weekend. Also, of interesting note this weekend, Credit Suisse is apparently still in trouble. Deutsche Bank's balance sheets are looking a little bit bizarre as well. Not that that should surprise anybody. At the moment, there are lots of nighttime photos of a certain country over in Europe with a blue and yellow flag. They're looking pretty darn dark, as in no lights, which is not entirely surprising at this point, considering everything that's going on over there. And apparently, the president of the United Arab Emirates is taking a vacation on Tuesday. He's going to go visit Russia. No idea. I guess Russia is a tourist destination at this point. We shall see what we shall see. And yeah, Zeoxio, we use it as seldom as possible. I will say this. The money that's in there is going to be spent online getting cool lab supplies for yours truly. Because, that's just the way it is. In other news, apparently the CPI numbers that are going to be coming out very shortly are not looking good. But congratulations are in order to Mr. Ben Bernanke, because apparently Mr. Ben Bernanke has been gifted with the Nobel Prize for economics. Yeah. As if we needed any more proof that Nobel is probably rolling over in his grave and the Nobel Society is absolutely useless at this point. Okay. Gold apparently closed today at $1,667.80 and silver at $19.54, which is not great, but not horrible either. In other news, a certain U.S. Congress critter has introduced a gold standards bill as inflation spirals out of control. One of our representatives in Congress actually has half a brain cell, which I find surprising in and of itself, has introduced a bill to bring the United States government back on the gold standard.
Mark, you're watching the Tinfoil Hat Report, where she talks about government policies that affect precious metals mining.
Yeah, this is the tinfoil hat. Then the real miner comes back. At any rate, our Congress critter has half a brain cell, which is surprising in and of itself, and has introduced a bill to bring back the gold standard. The goddess sees a few problems with this, namely the putative gold that the federal government supposedly owns hasn't been physically audited since before 1971. The goddess has doubts it's even there. Number two, the bill itself has been referred to the House Committee on Finances, which means it's probably going to die a long and painful death from being ignored or neglected because Congress does not want Americans to have sound money. This is a given. To anyone who has not yet figured out that this runaway inflation we have is considered to be a feature of our fiat currency rather than a bug by our government, well, you kind of gotta wake up at this point because it's not looking good any way, shape, or form whatsoever here. But we shall see what happens with this gold standard bill. The goddess does not have much hope, but it should be noted that if they actually do manage to put us back on the gold standard, then by default, we will achieve true price discovery in precious metals. That's why it's not going to happen. Because as we all know, there's a whole lot more paper metal running around out there than there is physical. And that is something that nobody wants anybody to know about. Mint shortages further pressure supply amid high demand. In August, demand for bullion has slacked a bit from the frenetic pace set over the last 2 years. But buyers came back with a vengeance during September, and inventories of the most popular products are showing the strain. Premiums are back on the rise, and delivery delays have returned for many items, with silver inventories being the hardest hit. Money metals' weaker competitors are especially troubled. As buyers turn away from higher priced silver coins, particularly the problematic silver eagle, 1 ounce silver rounds, and bars of various sizes, are now experiencing supply issues. The major constraint, once again, is in the capacity of mints and refiners to produce retail bullion products. While demand for 1,000 ounce silver bars also appears strong, premiums for those large bars are holding steady. Yes, they are. They're holding currently at about just a shade over $1 per ounce where I am. If 1,000 ounce bar premiums rise, it would be signaling a true shortage for silver. For now, though, the shortage is in the fabrication capacity of mints and refiners who convert large bars into smaller products. The pressure on premiums has been driven, at least in part, by the U.S. Mint. Despite its obligation to produce coins in quantity sufficient to meet public demand, the Mint has done nothing to increase supply. Now, I must put in a short and very tepid defense of our Mint. the mint is caught between a law and another bad law. One law says they must produce enough silver coins and gold coins sufficient to meet public demand. Unfortunately, another regulation that was passed by another branch of Congress puts a cap on how much premium they are allowed to pay over the paper spot price to get their metal in the first place. Now, you would think if old Fort Knox is loaded to the gills with gold and our other federal repositories are loaded to the gills with thousands of tons of silver, and that's TONNE, the log kind, not the American kind, that they wouldn't be having to buy it from anybody. You would think so. Well, we're not going to get into that. No. We're definitely not going to get into that. But yeah, they are limited to paying an extremely minuscule premium over spot. As we all know, spot on both gold and silver are strongly suppressed right now. And the mint amount that they are allowed to pay is ridiculously tiny. I mean, we're talking 1930s type tiny, okay? So,
can she repair precious metals market manipulations? She can't repair them. She's trying to point them out, though, so that
I would
people can-
love to repair them, okay? There are a couple of ways it can be done, all of which would be very painful. So the problem the mint has is they can only buy their planchets, the blank coin rounds, from a very select group of refiners that have passed the exhaustive and very expensive government assay process to get certified to sell planchets to the mint. As an example, Sunshine is one of them. Sunshine makes beautiful generic rounds. Since Sunshine can make 3 times or 4 times the profit per round that they make themselves as they can make selling a blank one to the mint, well, unless the federal government mandates that all of their product go to the mint ain't getting squat. So it's a little hard to keep up with that public demand when you can't get the merchandise and you either don't want to use your own vaulted precious metals that we supposedly have, or you can't get Congress to approve you paying more. But this also begs the question, if the mint is only paying around a fraction of a percent over spot for each blank round, and premiums on American Silver Eagles are well north of 150% the last time I checked, where's all the extra money going?
Not to me.
It certainly isn't going into buying 1,000-ounce Comex bars to go to the vault so that we can make our money. Now, is it? Well, just another one of those things that show up. Okay? Demand spiked for bullion products 2.5 years ago. Private mints and refiners have been steadily growing capacity, but the U.S. Mint is manufacturing excuses instead. What else is new? Their government.
Scoot a little to the left, little one. No,
Congressman Alex Mooney, Republican, West Virginia, sent a terse letter to Mint Director Ventress Gibson just over a month ago. Ms. Gibson replied last week. She blamed issues on COVID and the vendors who supply blanks. The U.S. Mint's response letter was predictably long on excuses and short on solutions. The top U.S. Mint bureaucrat says she hopes to add some new vendors who can produce blanks rather than gearing up to produce blanks in-house. It should be noted that they never should have not had the capacity remaining to produce planchets in-house, okay? There was no mention of plans to dramatically increase inventories during periods when demand is slower. If the Mint has plans to add any people, equipment, or in-house capacity, Gibson didn't discuss that either. Until and unless the U.S. Mint gets its act together, it remains wise to avoid the extraordinarily high premiums that come with American eagles, and even consider selling the eagles you have. By the way, in that regard, if you actually did want to sell some eagles, you can get anywhere from $9.50 to $14 over spot for eagles from just about any online dealer and most of your local coin shops. Okay. Rounds and bars offer a much better value, as do many other silver coins. You got that right. As alluded to above, this is why, you can vault your stuff if you want to. The goddess will tell you once again, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. So, as much as I like money metals, no, I won't be using their vault services. Okay. Yeah, give gold depositors their own gold back. That would be a good idea.
What a concept.
Geological, let me put it this way. If we had a sound money system, the mint would have already been using the so-called reserves in our so-called repositories to make coins and replenishing them as they were used. This is the way the world used to work. Okay. And that dollar cost averaging tended to ensure that at least the mint wouldn't be taking a loss when they made money. But, things don't work that way anymore. And no, as far as the goddess is concerned, yeah, if there's anywhere near what they claim is in our strategic metal reserves actually physically extant, I'll eat my tinfoil hat. I don't think it's there. Nobody has seen it for 70 years. And if you really think that our thieves in Washington would leave real money sitting around for 70 plus years, yeah, bless your heart. That's all I have to say there. Bless your heart. Yes, Ed, the world did used to work on a whole lot less credit. That is the thing. Sound money, honest money has rules. Fiat doesn't. That is reason number 17,212 that the goddess does not like fiat. Okay? But that is where we are in the matter of the mint. I have not yet been to the store, but I am fairly sure that socks have not yet reappeared at Walmart. And if I had had any sense, I would have checked the Walmart in Missoula the last time I was there to see if they have my socks. But I doubt they do.
No time.
Yeah, no time. Chicken is getting an even shorter supply. The early turkeys are getting bigger. We are pretty darn near the point of no return when it comes to the strain that is probably happening on hatcheries. So if you like chicken, you really ought to consider buying some chicken. I mean, just saying. Because you never know what's going to happen in that regard. We all know what things are like these days. And a couple of hedge funds have gotten permission to sue LME over the nickel trades. So there may actually be a very small level of accountability coming in LME's direction for their absolutely disgusting actions that happened way back in March. We shall see what we shall see. But bearing in mind that the criminals that work in the metals market, whether it be Bank of America, JP Morgan, or LME, usually tend to get fines that amount to a wink and a nod, and they're allowed to continue business as usual. So while the goddess would like to see some accountability, some transparency, and a few hangings wouldn't be bad either, the goddess will not hold out hope. in this matter. We shall see what we shall see. Currently, the bear sentiment, not that kind of bear, but the bear sentiment seems to be growing in metals. There's an interesting dichotomy going on. On one hand, the banks, the last people you'd expect to be propping up physical gold and silver, are making positive noises that physical gold and silver are going to rise because they are in the beginning of a strong bull run, a strong rally based on the increasingly dire world economic forecasts of recession, depression, and derivatives implosion, and a few other really unpleasant and inconvenient things. While the man on the street is getting more and more bearish. We're seeing more and more sentiment, despite Robert Kiyosaki and a few other people talking up gold and silver very well. We're seeing more and more sentiment that people are not considering precious metals a safe haven. Well, that's their loss. Goddess is backing up the truck again this week, and I suggest you do the same. Because at some point, there will be a reckoning and there will be true price discovery. They cannot hide this soaring mountain of bovine excrement forever. And that's just the way it is. Bye. The moon.
And let's see. Mark. And that's my imitation of a sign language interpreter. So we just have to have as much fun as we can while we're at it.
So, Mark, do you have mining questions? We do mining questions.
Yeah. Hey, Goldpan. 18 watching. It's been pretty steady all evening. Ooh. Good thing you're not saying that in person, Keith. Consequences? Crazy lady. I think there will be consequences, but it's going to be something that I suspect will be a little more kinetic than they're expecting.
Like I said, I'm in favor of hanging. I mean, just saying.
I think they found someone where they had a sign language interpreter and some real sign language person goes like, that's just gibberish. How would you know? Right? At least mine is humorous. Where are you at, Shaggy? Southern Arizona, right? Silver City?
Public service announcement, Arizona sucks rocks.
Oklahoma City, huh? You can have some serious storms there. Anyhow, so first of all, open the floor to any questions. Anyone's got any questions on mining or anything like that? The available vein in the Montana B decline appears to be significantly less than original estimates due to the pack rat midden being a lot thicker than anticipated. I kind of assumed there was, cross ties like somewhere near the rock, but not, 3 or 4 feet out from it. Although there's no reason it can't, but that was not what I was expecting. So we're doing some evaluation of the mine dumps. It might be quite feasible to uh, simply mine dumps for the rest of the year and get more ore to the mill quicker and easier that way. Um, right now, we've been spending like 4 days a week mining. Uh, okay. Pack rat. A pack rat is a little creature about this big minus the tail. And they're that. They're a cute little rat.
They live 2.5 to 3 years.
According to her, they live 2.5 to 3 years. I wouldn't bet against her. The problem with pack rats is they gather stuff and build nests, which are
Call
called,
them midden.
if you let me finish, which are called middens, and these can be enormous. As a matter of
Fun trivia fact. They have found multi-generational middens that they can track back 400 years.
okay. Yeah, Zioxio, except that completely blows the entire budget out of the water. Hey, Tricky. So anyhow, these pack rats just keep building these nests bigger and bigger and bigger, and apparently really big. It's also a bit hazardous as it can contain hantavirus, and there's a number of problems with hantavirus. Number one, it's a virus. Number two, there is no treatment. Number three, there is no vaccine. So,
Number 4, 30% mortality rate.
and let's see. Okay, Lars, you're right. Ugh. So anyhow, so that misled me into how much ore I thought would likely be there. I knew it was going to pinch off somewhere because in the 40-foot level, you could look in the back and you could see it pinch off. I thought we'd have about 5 feet roughly. We've already done that. The problem is not the width. The problem is the depth. And you'd have to actually dig holes and to thoroughly sample it gets pretty demanding. And again, we're doing this on a very tight budget. So there comes a point where it's like, is it making money? No. Okay. Then maybe we need to think of something else to do. So I say right now, tentative plan is to go for dumps. Blindside says he wants to say thanks for the tinfoil hat session.
Thank you.
But that's because it's so much easier to mine the dumps. The productivity is so much higher. You can get by with a lower grade. I think as long as we're breaking even, we're making a little bit of profit, things will be okay for now because we're learning a lot of stuff in terms of the processing, the milling, the everything. So it's a useful exercise if it's not terribly costly. The problem with the pack rat structure is that it's pretty much been mined to the extent. Everywhere we look around it, where they mined, it's pinched off, with the exception of two big pillars, which are kind of holding up the back. And that would take a lot of ground support to be able to pull those. Again, it gets very expensive. On the other hand, the layer that you can call the pack rat structure is open at depth, but not in much quantity. Let me get my little thing here. At the lower decline, come on. Ha! See? Now we have no sign. At the lower decline, you have the decline here. Actually, it's steeper than that. And right about here is the 40-foot level that goes both ways. Here's the hillside. And the pack rat structure is visible here. And at about 15 feet starts becoming ore grade. And remains ore grade for quite a bit there. Then there's this big pillar that is kind of ore grade in here. Again, you can't really mine it much. Behind on the other side, don't see too much. But they've mined 50 feet that way and 50 feet this way, and there's not much left. However, down here where they stopped the decline, the structure is still there in a sub-economic grade and size. It's 4 to 8 inches across, less than half an ounce to the ton. But that doesn't, I mean, they took out a big chunk of rock right here. I mean, I'd say almost 100 feet across. So it's possible that if you kept driving the decline, this would widen out again and get better. But again, without some way of drilling it or finding that out ahead, like some kind of geophysical or whatever, then you've got, it's both, John. The pack rat structure is because of all the pack rats that made a giant penthouse right there in the structure. Didn't the pack rat structure down assay higher? Once you got about 15 feet from surface, yes. At about 20 feet, it was pretty good. But when you got to 40 feet, it pinched off and got a lower grade again. And so I say pack rat is a real rat. They build these middens and they build it in that structure. You know, what is the host rock? Bedded quartzite primarily, although some dolomite. Electric resistivity testing would be interesting, entirely possible. The pack rat structure is running like 30% iron too, so geomagnetics might be useful. Is that structure showing in any other decline? No, but that's because they aren't aligned with it. The middle decline out here in this tunnel goes along the perpendicular vein, and the middle decline comes through here. Okay, we're currently up about here with our new slice. Okay, we're getting pretty close. One thing I did this trip was I sampled right here, because there's a divot where they've taken out vein and there's unidentifiable pack rat midden and stuff, but right here it goes to solid rock again, so I sampled that. But the middle decline is here, the upper decline is here, also on the same perpendicular vein structure. The pack rat mining is on the far side of the perpendicular vein. Think of this board as the perpendicular vein. And the perpendicular vein is also discontinuous. For example, it's clear that out here, they took a little divot into the side of the mountain, which over here, they also took a little divot. So I'm sure they were hoping that they could find some continuity in that perpendicular vein so they could mine their way through to the dozer road out here. That would have been very convenient. But in neither case is it more than an inch or two wide. So this perpendicular vein is discontinuous. The back here, I can't tell here, but all along here looks like it's potentially ore. When the opening of the upper decline right there, there's obviously a little vein about that wide. I need to dig that out and get some sampling. But the footwall here, not footwall, the floor is pretty much wall rock with a little vein in it. On the other hand, this up here, which is visible from surface, is that brecciated stuff just like here. So there's a number of other potential targets here that we could look at. You know, we might mine this area here. You know, we could come in from here and mine down and see what we get. So this decline here goes all the way down to the 40-foot level over here. So we've also got some stuff. The grades on average were not as good. I haven't seen any parallel pack rat type structures in this location. Gold Pandan. Other places, potentially. Let's see. Trying to find. Oh my goodness, you get so much paperwork that it's very, very difficult to find the one you wanted. I thought it was in the very front of this packet here, but I don't see it. So I'm not sure where it got to. No, there we go. Yeah, the upper decline did not have good grades in the floor. Okay, nowhere near the grades of the middle decline. Now, one of the questions that we have to answer oh my goodness. Just a second, let me try and rearrange this just a smidge. Okay. Goodness gracious. Why has everything got to be so complicated? Okay. But one of the possibilities, too, that we need to evaluate, the perpendicular vein breaks through the sedimentary layers perpendicular. It's near vertical. Sedimentary layers are at 60 degrees. Yeah, you tried to find out, and you couldn't find anything. And but a question is, in this area here, how good is the vein? Okay, Now, there's not a lot of tonnage, but I mean, if it's running 5 ounces to the ton, we can live with that. So we need a little bit more assays here to get a better idea. And on these dumps out here, I mean, we got one dump right here. We just drive the quad up next to it. We got a dump here. Not much left of this dump here. Pretty much removed that. But we have a lot of tonnage here, and there's a humongous amount of tonnage down here. But that is way too low a grade for our type of operation at this time. Okay. We only did one sample on that. And say it had gold. I mean, there's a lot of open pit mines that would love to have that kind of grade, but it's not good for a micro scale mine. This, on the other hand, is marginal. This may be okay as is, or it's likely to be upgradable by screening. Now, this is something let's see, what do we got here? One of the things that one should always evaluate when looking at an old gold mine are the dumps. The grade of the ore varies dramatically depending upon the mine, and the grade of the waste, more importantly, varies. Let's say you have a vein here, and this appears to be kind of the case we got. This is a high grade vein, but in some cases, this area here is low grade. Instead of just barren, it's actually, not a horrible grade, just not nearly as good as that. So to get this, they dug this and threw it out the hole. Now, they apparently segregated low grade from what they considered to be waste. But here's what I'm talking about screening. If you have rock, like right in here, and you got, let me expand this a little bit. I'm going to zoom in. Watch this high-tech zoom function here. Right here, you have this fault zone, and it's moved. So you've broken the rock up over here and over here, and there's a gap in the middle. Now, this is where your high-grade vein forms, in the gap. But there's all these little gaps between all these fragmented pieces. Okay? So, while you had this major fracture filling high grade here, you have this really minor fracture filling high grade in these cracks. Now, when you blast that and haul it, this coating of these pieces and the little fracture filling and stuff tends to get broken up and form fine material. Therefore, whenever you got an old gold mine with dumps, one thing, and the dumps have some gold, one thing you want to do is see what happens when you screen it. Okay? Now, let us say that these dumps at what I call the lower decline dump has 1 unit of gold average. I'm not allowed to give exact numbers. Okay? And you screen that at 1/2 inch. So you got plus and minus. You get about equal amounts But this is a half a unit, and this is 2 units in concentration. So half of your material can easily be doubled in grade. And if you have a fair amount, that can make a lot of tonnage. Let's see. I agree, Dan. We can move a lot of material there compared to mining it. You're correct, Xioxio. It all depends on what they were doing to recover it. The other thing is, in the old days, they didn't have all the tools we have. But one thing that they could do, for example, is sell it to a smelter. And that depends on the metallurgy of the chemistry of the rock. For example, if this center high-grade vein was hematite and silica, that'd probably be pretty easy to sell to a smelter. If the fractured breccia zones on each side had other rock in it that was undesirable to the smelter, that might not be processable, and therefore they throw it away. The middle decline dump did not seem to upgrade very well when it was screened. It seemed to come mainly from the perpendicular vein. The lower decline dump came mainly from the pack rat structure, and it seemed to upgrade quite nicely when screened. You know? And so there's a lot of questions. Xioxio tried to find some kind of records which would give us some clues as to what they were doing, why they were doing it, what was their motivation, you know? What was their constraints? Were they selling it to a smelter? Were they processing it somewhere else? Were they using cyanide? Were they this, that, or the other? And without any records, we just have to figure it all out from scratch. How about inventing a new way to break down or pulverize rocks besides what we got? Yeah, we don't know if they ever made a profit either. Although this wasn't your typical mining investors situation here. If you can figure out a better way to pulverize rock than what they've got, you don't need to mine gold. You can patent that and sell it. So if you can do it, go for it. Because what they call comminution, making small rocks out of big ones, is a huge business. I really don't know how huge, but many, many billions of dollars a year, you know? So say it's one of those things that my brother was speculating about using lasers to drill holes and things like that. And I'm like, I don't know. Find somebody who knows lasers and rocks. I have no idea, Ed. It's beyond my, knowledge base. But if it's okay to say what was the name of the mining district back when, I don't know if it is or not, so I better not. Well, we don't need nuclear. We want fusion reactors. Like Back to the Future, the Mr. Fusion thing. Yeah. And this is the thing. If somebody can come up with a better way of drilling holes, breaking rock, or sensing, and this is, I mean, they're working on it. But I know in this hill there's many more of these ore bodies somewhere. Okay? And the question is where? If you knew where they were, what kind of grade, what size, what shape, then you could look at this whole thing and say, okay, we'll go to that one first, and then we'll go to this one, and then that one over there. So I'm would be shocked if there wasn't at least a dozen more pack rat type structures in a mile of this ridge. Okay, I mean, 1 mile long, and at reasonable depths, there's probably a dozen of them. But how do you find them? And how do you find them economically? I mean, you could grid off the entire thing and drill holes on a 50-foot grid and spend, I don't know, Zeoxio, or I haven't seen rock tonight, but let's say 300-foot holes on 50-foot centers. That should find it. Okay. Um, how much money are we talking about? Assuming, let's forget the permitting. Let's forget the building, the roads and support structures and everything else. Let's just assume 1,000 feet by 5,000 feet in terms of your area that you're wanting to drill, and 300-foot holes. So 5,000 feet on 50-foot centers is 100.
Yep.
And 1,000 feet on 50-foot centers is 20. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
20. And 300 feet long. Okay, so we're talking 60,000 feet of drill holes, Zeoxio. What's drill hole running nowadays, including the assaying?
$1 a foot.
No, it's much more than that. What do you think, Zeoxio? I'm just talking the drilling costs. $10, $20 a foot? That's, yeah, I would like to see some geophysics too, but I do know. $5,000 a day for a 3-man team. I know years ago it was in the $10 to $20 a foot for reverse circulation. That's not core drilling. Core drilling, I think we're looking at something like $50 a foot. So, I mean, we could easily get into tens of millions of dollars. This is where the geophysics comes in. This is why they're trying to figure out some way of doing like a CAT scan of the hill. We know these ore bodies have a high iron content, let's say like 30% iron. I say XRF works on the surface. That's it. Doesn't go into penetrate. You've got subsurface radar, which might work because it works on it goes on conductivity and stuff. So it might spot one of these things.
What about dipole?
I don't know. Yeah, if water jets can cut metal, it can cut a hole, but it doesn't cut it as cheap as a drill bit, or they'd be using it. But I say, this is where if you could do the equivalent of a CAT scan, it would be fantabulous.
Darn it.
Right now, they've got some techniques that work kind of, sort of, in some ways, but that, is it. Many iron minerals are not notably magnetic. I think conductivity resistivity might be the method to use, or seismic. Seismic, I don't know. You got a lot of layers there. So spotting a different layer, I don't know how easy it's going to be. Conductivity, resistivity, possibly. Magnetic, possibly. Um,
There
what?
on the wall over our closet.
What? Another bug?
Yeah, you can get him out of here before he takes off again.
Oh, they're not really that fast. That's one nice thing about them. But this is kind of the holy grail of exploration, is to find some methodology Yeah, I don't know, Zioxio. The perpendicular vein would easily show up because the actual ore is soft limonite. We could produce nuclear electricity at reasonable costs if it wasn't for all the regulatory stuff, and we could do it safely. I would agree with that. Um, but that's not reality. Now, reality changes. They're also working on these modular reactors. Well, that's why by using modular reactors, basically, about the size of a semi trailer that you bury, and I mean, you could, you know, a big city would have maybe hundreds of them scattered about. You know, so there are people working on it, and I suspect with the kind of motivation that's likely to hit in the next 12 months, some of the resistance might be dramatically moderated. But we'll just have to see. Well, it's not so much the cost overruns as it is the regulatory and lawsuit delays. Because, well, let's say you had, and these numbers are decades old. Let's say you had a $5 billion project you wanted to build. Okay, so you got $5 billion worth of financing. And then the lawsuits prevent you from doing anything for 15 years. What's the financing cost? Uh huh. So that's, you know, much bigger than the actual physical costs. But yeah, even with energy, again, you don't want to essentially level a hill to see what's in it. That's inefficient. Drilling is much better, but it would be nice to use some kind of sensors. And that's what they're trying to do. And there are some people who are really smart that are doing all these things. And I don't know what they're going to come up with, but that's what it is. I know that, say, there's a geophysical place right up the street, about a half a mile. And we asked them, it's about $5,000 a day for a 3-man crew. And I forgot the area they said they could do, but it's not a huge area in one day. 1,000 feet by 1,000 feet or something like that. I forget what it was, but it's pretty pricey. And if we had an income stream coming in, it was pretty juicy, well, that would justify, well, let's find another one, you know? And, but if you don't have anything that's making money, that's not a good way. Another possibility is to build a mill. And there's lots of old mines, there's lots of dumps laying around. If you had a safe, permitted, easy to get to mill, you might be able to make a lot of money. Let someone else do the mining. In a case like that, they bring you a sample, you do some testing, and you say, okay, this is what we'll pay for it, or we won't pay it. I'm sorry, we can't make any money on this stuff. But they become your exploration department, And Zeoxio says there's, I don't know, probably thousands of mines within 100 miles of where I'm sitting. And I say, you haul off a dump, process it, voila. Custom milling can be profitable. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thousands of mines easily. Yeah, no kidding. Again, a lot of the problem nowadays is the regulatory environment, getting a decent road in there. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything fancy, but just something that a little 10-wheel over the road dump truck can drive on. Who's Lars? Okay, Kodak. Here's one I do know something about. How long does it take for high-level radioactive waste to decay to the point where it's no more radioactive than the ore from which it was originally mined? Would you agree that is a reasonably safe condition? Okay. Give me a guess, John. How long does that take? Because that was actually in Scientific American decades ago. To give you an idea, it takes about 500 years before it's no more toxic than mercury ore. That's exactly what I'm saying, Lars. Okay, I'll give you an answer. 800 years. In 800 years, it's no more radioactive than the rock from which it was originally mined. Now, considering there's billions of tons of that rock laying around, I would say that's reasonably safe. Hey, Chris. Nice to see you. I was late. What's going on? Well, we were talking about nuclear reactors for a moment because we were talking about if you had a lot of power, there's a lot of mining options and exploration options that would open up. But then Kodak brought up the point, which is made in the press. It takes forever for radioactive waste to decay to where it's safe. Well, that all depends on what you call safe. And to me, the criteria of it's no more radioactive than the rock from which it was originally mined seems reasonable. That's 800 years. And yes, we can build stuff that lasts 800 years. No problem. Okay. Yeah, it's propaganda. Half-lives in the thousands of years. Yeah, but that's the low-level stuff. The half-life of uranium is in the millions of years. But those aren't the things that kill you. The stuff that kills you is the stuff that has the short half-lives because it's the most radioactive. That's why when you first have a spent fuel rod, the first thing they do is for like 20 years, they just keep it in a pond, cooling it as the short half-life stuff really burns up. Oh, Chris, define safe. It's not a 10,000 year problem if it's safe after 500. Okay. How safe is safe? Okay. Nothing is safe. Everything has some risk.
Background radiation.
So the question is, you can do reprocessing. That helps a bit. You can also use reactors to burn up waste. There's ways of dealing with it. Yes, the oxio, absolutely. Yeah, Americans suffer consequences. We all die soon. Well, that's why if it's partially spent, you reprocess it and get the good stuff out. I'm talking technologically, it's not a problem. Like you say, it's a policy problem. It's a politics problem, not a technical problem. Well, and the other thing is if you're storing radioactive waste, you can chemically combine it with stuff that makes it a lot more stable than the natural ore. You have your, what is it, uranium oxide is the normal thing. It's probably got a certain solubility and stuff. I bet you can combine it with something and it's a lot less mobile than that. Uranium ceramics, exactly. Well, that's what they do basically. They vitrify it, just shoot it over to Russia. I'd be careful with that. They can shoot back, Dan, as the certain people just found out. Well, and there's a perfectly plausible idea. Take a place like Chernobyl or the Nevada desert where they did the nuclear tests and store it there. You know, who was it? Jerry Purnell wrote, just go out to the Nevada desert where they did the nuclear tests and build a big concrete dome and put it underneath the dome, and at a safe distance, put a fence around it that says, cross this fence and you will die. Certainly some people are going to cross the fence, but think of it as evolution in action, you know? And, I agree. If someone wants to be so stupid that they die, I'm not going to worry too about it. Yeah, it doesn't work that way, Kodak. Different reactions. Yeah, but that's kind of an active thing, not just a forces of nature thing. Better shooting it into Jupiter, or you could just stack it on the moon. I don't think there's much wildlife on the moon to cause problems with. Yeah, I say it's not a technological problem. You could take it and put it into a subduction zone and just let it get subducted. That's long-term geologic disposal. you know it can be done, but it's all policies. It's like, nobody wants a nuclear reactor in their backyard, even though it's a lot safer than having a fossil fuel power plant in your backyard. The pollution is much less, actually. Yeah. It's not working at all, Argonaut, because they won't open it. I don't know, Chris. With Elon and Starship, you might be correct. Up to 10 years ago, that's probably not true. But, man, by getting it into a subduction, if you just get it deep into the sediments, that would be good enough. They're going to go down into that subduction zone. No, Zeoxio. Nah, you wouldn't do it on land. And so you just go out on the ocean where it's subducting before it gets to the subduction zone and put it deep into the sediments. And then as it subducts, it gets carried down. That's the only way that would work. You have to let geology do most of the movement. You just have to put it in a spot where it's going to, be carried. It's like a glacier, if you want a glacier to carry at 40 miles, just start at the beginning. Yeah, exactly, Chris. So these are the sort of things that can be done. Oh, and another thing too that Jerry Purnell brought up is that I'll be willing to bet you 100 years from now, that radioactive waste is going to be a feedstock for something. You just anything that's radioactive can probably be used for something. We don't know. That's where putting it under a big, in a repository, so to speak, you can reaccess it later. Okay, Tricky. What did he want with you? Water. No water. Well, yeah, you can do that. If you had copper sulfate in solution, you can just run it over iron and it'll precipitate out the copper.
How can you precipitate copper out of copper nitrate?
Neutralize it first. Butte buys millions of pounds of scrap iron a year to recover copper from the Berkeley pit. Yeah. Just a second, I'm going to get some water here. If you drive 1,000 meters into basalt of ocean floor, I think you mean drive, eventually it will go away. Yeah. Ziaxia says there's a spring called the Yankee Jim Spring near the Berkeley pit that expels about 1,000 gallons per minute of blue water that they recover the copper from using the scrap iron system. Yeah, so there's lots of things. First of all, is it technologically possible? Then is it technologically feasible? Then is it politically and societally feasible? Maybe not tricky, but it's like getting copper is pretty easy. There might be other stuff that it'll work on that makes it more interesting. But it's like getting copper sulfate out of water is a piece of cake. Um, that's a solution in search of a problem. I've seen a scrap iron system. As I recall, that was mainly the iron wire from something that they had. No, I didn't, Dan. That is correct. Let me write it on my list for tomorrow. Dimensions of jaw plates plus holes to Dan. Lauren, are you here tonight? Yeah, if it'll work on the metal complexes in the Eco Goldex, especially if it can be selective, that would be great. I don't see Lauren. I suspect he's snoozing. So he's working pretty hard. I should see him tomorrow morning, though. Hopefully, I'll remember. Keep reminding me, Dan. Yeah, that's kind of silly on my part, but yeah, I'll go ahead and get those to you sooner or later. This week will be better. We've been working so much. Oh, hey, Lauren. Yeah, Dan is looking for the dimensions to the jaw plates. You know, that brand new one I got over there. If we can get him the dimensions, I think he's got some plate he can computer cut them for us. Okay. I'll try and get over there tomorrow morning and help you out for a while, and then come back. And I think we got our usual Tuesday chores, and I think we better just take the afternoon and get our stuff done, you know, laundry and shopping and stuff. We need to do
our usual Tuesday stuff.
Yeah, with this weekend we don't need to go mining because we got enough. You saw how much was still stockpiled out by the crusher, little one.
Yeah.
None of the stuff that I took from the vein has been crushed yet. You know, that's all still sitting out there by the RC46. So, say it should be 800 to 1,000 pounds. Thank you, Lauren. Lauren's got a project he's working on where he needs some stuff cut that's kind of tedious because Eva doesn't get up until later in the morning. I can head over there and work with Lauren for a couple of hours doing all this tediousness while he gets other stuff done to, get this project complete. Due to a number of factors, it's gone a lot longer than originally planned, not the least of which is it keeps expanding. The customer keeps, he likes what he sees. It's like, could you make this bigger? Can you make this bigger? Can you do this? Can you do that? And so it just, takes more work. So I say there's a particular task I'm not too bad at that just takes time. It just annoyingly time consuming, but it's kind of cool. It's kind of craftsman-like, artistic sort of thing. So it's not that bad. Really? Well, Xioxio, you need to find your talent, then find where you can apply the talent to make money, and you got it made. Now, I'm not sure how you apply that to make money, but I think if you were a DJ, it wouldn't be too bad. Yeah, that's getting pretty serious, the Oxio. I don't think Eva usually sleeps in past noon. Well, John, my thought is when you bid a project, you say, I'll do this for this much money. As they keep adding stuff, the price per unit goes up because, like, okay, now I got to bring equipment back or this or that, or, you know. So, yeah, I say to me, the cost per unit should kind of go up the more they do this. I mean, tell me what you want. Boom. Don't keep changing it. If you keep changing it, there's a, you know, now you got to go back and bring back something that you took home and redo this. It can get really inefficient. So yeah, but that's not my thing. I'm just helping a friend. That's all. This is his gig. Uh, and so I'm glad to help out. And this winter we'll probably be doing a bunch of stuff in his shop. Don't worry about it then. But I say I just it'd be really nice to figure out exactly what to do with this resin. And Richard gave us a good idea on that electrolytic cell. I just haven't had time. This week we're going to make the time. Because that sounds very useful. Direct zinc precipitation didn't work very well, Richard. It seemed to from the solution assays, but the actual metal recovered from the solution assays, it should have been half a gram of gold disappeared out of solution theoretically, but Eva got a 0.043 gram bead that's silver in color. She says it's got an interesting crystalline structure, though. What kind of crystalline structure on the surface would you say?
I'd have to take another look at it, but it looked an awful lot like a geodesic dome to me.
Like a geodesic dome.
Yeah, I mean it was rather regular. I'm going to look at it again.
Okay. Anyhow, she says that the surface texture is regular, and that's not what we are used to seeing in a silver thing. I know platinum group tends to be kind of like orange peel looking. Nah, it didn't seem to work for us either, Tricky. But Jason said they're using it down in Central America, but didn't seem to work for me. Watch out, Kodak. Watch out, Zoxio. Magnesium? No, not going to wind up on a cupel. Zirconium? Haven't a clue.
Well, you can look at it tomorrow, and you'll see that it's very interesting.
We shouldn't have lost much gold at all. Even if all the gold that supposedly went out of solution was still in that cartridge. We washed the cartridge out carefully and stuff, and it should have been recovered there. If not, it probably went back into solution at a later stage. It might have gone colloidal, but it's kind of a closed system, so it's hard to lose it. You might lose track of it, but he's still working on it. He obviously posted a bunch while we were gone this weekend, but Chris suggests you look in the assay book and see what there is.
Mm-hmm.
I know he was working on some stuff. It seems that he may have got something working, but I'm not certain. Okay, because I missed a couple of his videos. Uh, but he's using on much, much higher concentrations. By the way, um, Richard, how efficient was that recovery of gold from the resin using the electrolysis? And did any gold you didn't get just remain in the resin? I haven't heard anything from, the guy in Tucson. What's his name?
Lawrence.
Lawrence, yeah. Yeah, I think it's PT, not TP. Jeff. Uh, Still there, Richard? Okay, so what were your total losses, do you think? And, just guesstimating. And if the remainder was still in the resin and then you regenerated it, then that isn't a problem. And if you didn't regenerate it, we could always uh, smelt it and get. Man, there's a lot of these I've never heard of before. I'm not that much of you. Okay, Tricky. In the electrolytic cell, what recovery percentage out of resin do you think you got? And you said it was fast, but what are your losses? I presume still in the resin? Because, yeah, I'm planning on saying that. I'm pretty sure I got all your notes. Uh, I'm getting a little confused, Richard. Yes, I smelted it with a vacuum hood to collect the vapors. Was that the best method, not the electrolytic one? 85%? Well, it's not too bad. I say, especially if the rest is still in the resin and you get 80% of the remainder, then there it is. Let's see, 0.8 times 12%. So you total losses 97% wouldn't be bad. Thanks a lot, Richard. I appreciate it. Say, we'll set up that electrolytic cell this week and give it a shot. Collecting the vapors over the electrolytic cell? Tricky? It wouldn't be too hard to do because an electrolytic cell doesn't have a lot of heat or anything. Collecting the vapors, huh? Okay, so now we need a vacuum source. A bucket head works good for that. Oh. Send Chris Loaded resin. Okay. Chris wants some loaded resin, little one. I presume you want that wet still, right? Yeah, Chris, that assumes you have running water. Okay, take care, Richard. Yeah, I've seen the little aspirator things. They work great if you got a sink. Otherwise, you need a pump and a bucket. So you're recirculating the water just to create a vacuum. You can also just use a vacuum pump. I don't know, Zeoxio. Hey, ask around. If somebody's interested and will sign a non-disclosure, sure. I say it is an interesting problem. Okay, Zeoxio. Hmm. I'm not sure, Jeff, although that's one of the options for sure. Yeah, I like what you're saying there, Chris. Because if you were pumping the capture solution, which I believe that refiner said was sodium hydroxide, do you think sodium hydroxide solution sounds good to you? Probably wouldn't have to be too concentrated. Hmm. You need a somewhat chemically resistant water pump. Doesn't need to be big. A little pipe, an aspirator. Yeah, probably wouldn't have to be too concentrated, do you think, Chris? Like, I don't know, point 0.1% would probably be uh, 0.5 molar. So sodium hydroxide should be oxygen 16, sodium is 22. So about 50 grams per liter, roughly. But yeah, because if you were using you wouldn't even really need to put the aspirator in air, just so long as the vacuum inlet was connected to a hose that went to air. The rest could be underwater, couldn't it? Hmm. That's not a bad idea. Let me show you what I'm pretty sure. Chris is talking about here. Now they make something that they use in labs a lot called an aspirator. And it would normally go like on a faucet. And you screw this little aspirator on there. And when you turn the faucet on, it sucks the vacuum through there. But you had a container of water, or a solution, and you had a pump in here. And the pump is pumping to an aspirator. There's your vacuum line. The liquid level could be up here. The vacuum line could go to whatever you're doing. And then all of this air gets turned into bubbles underneath the surface of the liquid. And unless you had a foaming problem, you're going to get really good capture. I like that idea, Chris. One of those pumps with no moving parts. Kind of like Kodak, yep. I would agree, Geological. Agreed, Geological. You might put the bubbles through a foam matrix or something like that to break them up. Don't know. I want the outlet shooting down into the water. Need the preference. Well, you need a pump to create a pressure differential. So you need. So I was thinking just a little submersible pump would probably work pretty easily. An all plastic submersible pump, little teeny fractional horsepower thing. Yeah, but I don't think the air pump for that would work. But yeah. Yeah, Argonaut, the thing is, the idea is the liquid is there to capture whatever's in the airstream. You got gold vapors, and you want them to be blown and distributed into the capture solution. Well, I would imagine that the pressure it's the differential is the key. But I don't know. And so the thing is, I like the idea of blowing it, into the water. So you use high velocity, Yeah, Zioxio, like I can do that. Uh-huh. Wow. Yeah, sure.
What does he want you to do?
Machine a block of Inconel with wire EDM to make 1/1000th inch holes to make microfine bubbles. I think Chris is right. Laser drill would probably work better. If I had a money tree, I'd be doing a lot more fishing and a lot less mining. Trust me, I like fishing.
Knowing you, no, you wouldn't.
Oh, yes, I would. But we'd be going places to go fishing. Oh. If the world ever calms down, I'd like to do a Queen Charlotte Islands trip in the summer and a Midriff Islands trip in the winter down to Sea Cortez.
I would prefer we do a fishing trip in a place where the fish are edible.
Queen Charlotte Islands?
Queen Charlotte Island's fine. Ain't no way I'm eating anything that comes out of the Sea of Cortez.
That's not polluted.
Huh. Yeah, right.
Little one, do you know what the flow rates are for water? The exchange rates are? You got tides 30 feet high.
Dude, do you know what those Mexicans put in the water?
Not much gets to it.
Mm-hmm.
They got Mazatlan down there at the very end, 200 miles away from the Midriff Islands. Oh, it's the Midriffs. I don't know about now, but I mean, they're pretty much like, oh, the reason you got to go there by ship is there is no roads anywhere near it, which is why the fishing was so good. But hotter than hell in the summer. February was better. You got yellowtail, stuff like that. Much better. They got whales, manta rays, all kinds of stuff down there. Anyhow, as I say, there's lots of things to do. Well, there used to be. Nowadays, there's lots of constraints on things to do, even if you have money. It's crazy. So let me think. Aspirator. On the furnace, we could use a steel line for a while to cool things, to cool that exhaust down some. But I'm not sure. Is that going to tend to condense the vapors? Yeah, I think that's, again, sometime in the future. I think these things are great ideas in the future. And then when the future shows up, everyone's going, oh, nobody changed the law? Oh, crap. Yeah. That's kind of my thought, Zioxio. But on the other hand, otherwise you'd have to kind of insulate the pipe till you got it to the scrubber. I don't know. Be interesting to slice it open and see what it looks like. Exactly, John. They don't know how to do the math. I don't know. Well, that sounds like a job for a hazmat suit, Zioxio. Well, the question is, was it valuable? I'm sure somebody needs arsenic for something.
Rat poison?
Oh yeah, back then they treated lumber with it. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure there's things you can do to make the bubbles, but the thing is that it'll handle the environment we're dealing with too. Yeah, but if it's the gold, then you're screwed. Zeoxio, because that's what we're trying to get. Hmm. Try the electrolysis first and see what happens. Yeah, the question is how long would they remain porous if you're pushing stuff through them that's condensing? Yeah, that sounds pretty good, Craig. I still bet you the guy collecting at the bottom's wearing a hazmat. Hmm. Ooh, so much to do this winter. That's why I'm not worried about getting bored this winter. We're either going to fix this problem or have fun trying to figure it out. Whether the metal is less toxic or not, you know what the regulations are going to be, Zeoxio. Oh, well, it's getting kind of late here. So,
Good night, everybody.
why don't we call it a night and go from there? Oh, Chris says good night, little one.
Good night.
Oh. I'm doing my best, Shaggy. Yeah, that should work. John? Now, scrubbing the exhaust for the vaporized gold, it's a pain in the butt, Jeff, believe it or not. Some of those complexes vaporize pretty damn easy.
As I have discovered.
Yep.
And I said from day one.
All righty. Going once. Hey, Lauren, if you get that stuff for me, I'll see you tomorrow and pick it up, the dimensions. Keep your stick out of the ice? I'll try. All righty. Calling it a night, folks. Sorry for the late start. That was pure my fault.